Greetings, true believers, listeners, viewers. My name is Carl Anka, and here we are on the Athletics live stream going over the Champions League draw. I'm joined here by James Horncastle, Raphael Honigstein, and Dermot Corrigan, all to go through. What's the operative word we're going for, gentlemen, for this draw? Lukewarm? Interesting?
Exciting. The Champions League are back. It's the only competition that anyone cares about. Let's be fair.
The competition
plenty for us to get into.
Yes, there is plenty of stuff for us to get into. We've got groups of death, groups of prestige, groups of fun, and at least one group where you're just going, well, that's just going to be home to the eventual winner of the Europa League. So, where would we like to get started? James, I'm going to go to you first. What group has caught your eye most of all?
Well, Group A, I think, because of what's going on today. We as reporters have been talking about the prospect of Cristiano Ronaldo going to Manchester City. So, Group A set the possibility of a Cristiano Ronaldo-led City against the PSG with Messi. So even though we've seen that rivalry before, potentially we get to see it in a different configuration with different personnel around these guys. How does that work? For me, that's pretty exciting, I must say.
So it's Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, RB Leipzig, and Club Brugge. Rafa, RB Leipzig, lost Nagelsmann, lost Konate, lost Upamecano. Are they anywhere near Champions League knockout stage quality anymore?
I think so. I mean, they have Dominic Szoboszlai, who hasn't played yet after joining in January, or hadn't played yet last season. He looks really, really good so far. Andre Silva is a great signing up front, much better than what they had before. They still have the likes of Nkunku, who's improving rapidly. I really like this team. Jesse Marsch, maybe not quite the same tactical level of Julian Nagelsmann, but a great motivator, ability to connect. And for once, Leipzig might actually be the most likable club in this.
What's wrong with Bruges?
What do you expect of Bruges, of course, who we all love and have a soft spot in our hearts for.
Dermot, I'm going to swing to you now because you've got a fantastic shirt. What group has grabbed your attention?
There's a lot of deja vus in the Spanish teams' groups. Atletico against Liverpool, Madrid with a Shakhtar and a Inter Milan again. But Barcelona's group looks quite tricky for them. It's got the 8-2, like Bayern Munich. Everybody's going to talk about the 8-2, which is going to be difficult for them, especially for Busquets and Piqué and Jordi Alba are going to have to watch a lot of themselves being run ragged. And you can see Barca struggling a little bit within that group as well. There's no obvious whipping boy kind of in the group. Barca have to go away to Benfica. Jorge Jesus is back there. That could be a tricky one for them. So, yeah, I don't think Barca are going to be looking forward to that group at all.
So this is the Group E. Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Benfica, and Dynamo Kiev. Julian Nagelsmann is now in charge of Bayern Munich. They won the German Super Cup last week. One trophy down. I'm assuming he wants as many as possible this season. Barcelona Memphis looks fun for Barcelona right now. That's a bright, shining light in what's looking like a difficult time for the club.
Yeah, Memphis has been probably, like, personality-wise and position-wise, has been about as good as Barca could have hoped for a Messi replacement. He doesn't look like he's too worried about coming in and taking over for Messi. Like people from Coutinho, Griezmann, lots of kind of names have come into Barca and looked a bit overshadowed in the past. But Memphis looks as if he's loving it. He's got the confidence. He's got Coleman around him as well, and De Jong helping him out. And yeah, he has been it's difficult to talk about bright spots for Barca at the moment because it's not so good. But he looks the one thing that they've got right really over the last 12 months.
I have a copy of Memphis's biography here. It's called Heart of the Lion, and it is one of the more surreal books I've ever read in my life. One of the final paragraphs says one of his life ambitions is to play for Real Madrid. So I imagine the second edition will be changed.
This is like Ronaldo. Ronaldo saying, "I would never join Man City."
Yeah.
Let's see if he keeps to that word. Let's see.
There's a fantastic bit in this book where Memphis talks about how he wanted to do 100 stomach crunches a day, just like his idol Cristiano Ronaldo. Not just because Ronaldo did it to be a good footballer, but because he reckoned if he got a six-pack, he'd get more endorsement deals. That is Memphis. That is the icon of New Barcelona.
The thought has occurred to me as well.
I want abs. I also like French fries too much. Let's look at some other groups here. So we've gone through A. We've mentioned a little bit about Group B. I want to talk about Group C here, which looks very much like the battle of a future Europa League winner. So Sporting Club de Portugal, or Sporting Lisbon, as we know, Borussia Dortmund, Ajax, and Besiktas here. Sporting were pot 1 because they won the Portuguese league for the first time in 19 years. Ajax back in their 4-time winners of the Champions League, semi-finalists in 2019, always in a semi-transitional state. Is there any club here that you think could be a potential quote-unquote dark horse for the Champions League?
I imagine Rafi's going to say Dortmund and be entirely justified in saying that by the looks of, well, I mean, the ups and downs of Dortmund from week to week, but Haaland staying there is a massive bonus. We know he will score 12 goals in 6 group stage games. That's just what he does. And in some respects, it is a big year for him because it will be his final year at Dortmund, if I'm not mistaken. So, I'm pretty sure the clubs that are queuing up for him now will be queuing up for him again next summer, whatever happens. But at the same time, maybe a bit of onus to have an even bigger and better year than he had last season. Don't know what Rafi thinks.
I mean, Dortmund should win the group, really. That should be their target. So they'll be very happy that they'll be favourites in this group. It could have been a lot worse for them. They pushed City pretty close. I don't think they would have gone on to win the cup if they'd made it through. But they're a decent side. They haven't really lost any big player, with the exception of Jadon Sancho, of course, but who's been replaced by Daniel Marlin. But the core of the group is still there. So they've only just lost one big player, I should say. So I think they will feel that they can maybe make the quarterfinals again, maybe the semi if they really get a little bit lucky. But I think there's a natural ceiling to how far they can go. But I think the most interesting sort of personality story might well be the sporting coach in this, because he's got the hallmarks of a bit of a Manjil, a wonder kid about him. Ruben Amorim did really well at Braga, and Sporting took him on, and of course he's gone on and win the league for, as James said, for the first time in 19 years. So as we know, Portuguese wonder kids tend to do pretty well in international competitions. Let's see if he can join in the footsteps of some illustrious predecessors.
I also think, sorry, Dermot, I also know, because we know that the Champions League is the matrix and it has certain glitches to it, but the winner of Group C or the runner-up will play winner or runner-up of Group G, which is with Lille, Sevilla, Salzburg, and Wolfsburg. One of these, so ultimately, one of these 8 teams, Sporting, Dortmund, Ajax, Besiktas, Lille, Sevilla, Salzburg, or Wolfsburg, will get to a quarterfinal. And anything happens. It's just one of the quirks of the Champions League.
I mean, for the avoidance of doubt, that is just a completely made-up sort of draw that James has just put out. It's not preordained, yeah?
It is not. It is not preordained.
No, it's not preordained. Of course not. No, of course not.
Absolutely not. There's nothing to do with hot and cold balls whatsoever. We're not mentioning that whatsoever. That's
a very different story, Carl, not for this.
Yeah, this isn't the kind of feed for that, Carl.
I've got producer Charlie in my ear mentioning we could have our Liverpool correspondent Kiva coming to join us quite shortly to talk about Group B. Group B mentioning Atletico de Madrid. I think that's what they've been tweeting recently. The club that we normally refer to as Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Porto, and AC Milan, which is, I mean, the only team that hasn't won the Champions League in that one is possibly the favourites to win the whole thing. Hey, Kiva. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Kiva.
So, Liverpool, Group B, Atletico Madrid again. How are you feeling?
I mean, it looks like a tough group on paper, doesn't it? But I think it's a shame the fans won't be there, I think, as it stands, because they're 3 aways that Liverpool fans would definitely want to be on. But obviously it'll be Atletico Madrid, means the return of Luis Suarez. Last time he came to Anfield, something happened, which I can't quite remember. And then obviously Porto, Liverpool must play Porto every 4 weeks, it feels like. And then obviously there's AC Milan as well, who I think I might be correct in saying these 2 teams only ever meet in Champions League finals. So there's all that to go with it. So there's a lot to get through there. Obviously, Marco Grujic as well will be playing for Porto, so that'll be interesting. He'll have some kind of revenge sort of. It didn't quite work out for him at Liverpool. Don't know. So there's a lot of tasty things to get into there, definitely.
Oh no, it'll be 3 months of Istanbul references non-stop.
I mean, there is in our house anyway, to be honest, Rafa. I mean, you can't walk down the street without someone saying, yeah.
Random people walk up to me and say, Istanbul.
Yeah, honestly, everyone knows what it means.
Right.
But yeah, so it's going to be, we're all going to be bored of that, aren't we? But no, I think an interesting draw. I mean, it could have been a lot easier for Liverpool, but here we are. It's exciting. It's a Champions League. Feels like one of the best draws on the whole we've had in a while, stirring up some good clashes. So I'm looking forward to it. But again, the fans thing is it's going to be dull if that can't happen, I think.
One full of historic footage for Liverpool fans. James, can you talk to me a little bit about AC Milan? So I watched AC Milan play Manchester United in the Europa League last season. And I went, who is this Kessie fella? And this Benakasir fella looks really, really good. Why is he not being linked to more Premier League clubs?
Oh, Premier League. They have to come to the Premier League, Carl. No, they should stay where they are. It's the plurality of the European game should be preserved rather than this Premier League, which is essentially a Super League, which you've all protected. So anyway, back to your initial question. Look, I think what's really interesting is AC Milan have taken Liverpool as an example in how Liverpool have resurrected themselves after not winning the league for 30 years. It's exactly what AC Milan want to do, certainly in terms of putting themselves back to where this club belongs. 7-time champions, not just Istanbul, but Athens, revenge for what happened a few years before in 2007. That's certainly what the likes of Paolo Maldini, who's now a technical director at Milan, will be wanting to talk about more than Istanbul. And yes, it's their first time back in the competition since 2014. So it'll be a learning curve for them. Even though they've got Zlatan, they've got Olivier Giroud. Apart from that, it's a very young team. So for a lot of them, as you mentioned, Kessie, Benasser will be their first time in the Champions League. So how they cope will be very interesting. Let's see if Kessie is still at Milan by the time the transfer window closes.
Oh, is he being linked with moves away anywhere?
No, I mean, he's in talks for a contract extension at the moment. And if they can't extend, then we'll have to see what happens.
I thought he was a very bright box-to-box midfielder, if not quite the defensive midfielder a number of Champions League challenging clubs want. Dermot, talk me about Atletico Madrid right now. Obviously, 2-time losing finalists, to my memory. Champions of Spain. It's the final, the objective for Simeone this year?
Yeah, it's what's left for Simeone to win, really, at Atletico. Went back and won the Liga title again last year, and to my mind, they're probably favourites to win it again this year. Those games against Liverpool a couple of years ago were huge for this Atletico team, especially with Marcos Llorente emerging from kind of shuttling defensive midfielder to a striding attacking goal scorer. He still remembered for that game in Anfield. It's such a huge moment in his career that he gave his mother a dog and called her Anfield. So that will be an interesting moment for the Llorente family when the game comes around. But it's a tough group for them, I think. Milan still a big name at least, and Porto will be tricky enough. It's the type of game that Atletico tend to slip up in. There were already people just on Twitter wondering, it's the type of group that Atletico might win, or they could easily find themselves, heading down the Europa League and become favourites to win that tournament. That happened a couple of years ago, so it's a tricky one for them.
It's going to be a dicey one. Kiva, how are you feeling about possibly playing Atletico Madrid one more time?
Just pain, isn't it? I think from the last encounter, Liverpool was so on top in that game, and it just obviously didn't quite pan out. And then that was the last ever game for such a long time. The last game with fans until quite recently, a full capacity Anfield anyway. So it'll be good, I think, for fans to get back. And hopefully a little bit of revenge, Liverpool fans will be hoping. But I mean, with Simeone just running up and down the touchline, you never quite know what you're going to get. It's going to be interesting. I think the Suarez thing is quite interesting. Liverpool fans sort of always, will hold a little candle for him, I think. when he went to Atleti, it was obviously there was always links. There's always links, I think, with players like that to come back to the club that they've left. So I think that's the sort of the one to look out for, isn't it, in terms of returns? But again, I think it's going to be interesting. You'd imagine Liverpool will make it through the group, but it's just one of those groups that you don't quite know how it's going to happen. Obviously, Milan returning, you don't know, they're just going to boss it, or they're going to absolutely, not do that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I shouldn't wish you all the best because I cover Manchester United, but good luck. Don't be nice. I can say don't be nice to Luis Suarez because also I'm Ghanaian, so I'm never going to want anything good to happen to that man after 2010. Other than that, Kiva, I want to wish you goodbye, and I'll see you soon. And I think I've got Dom Feifeld in a waiting room now, so we can talk about Chelsea's group, which is it looks a bit tricky, gentlemen. Chelsea, Juventus, Zenit St. Petersburg, and Malmo, a group that has, to my mind, one very clear favourite and one very clear favourite for the Europa League spots. Dom, as you cover Chelsea, they're the reigning champions. Are they the favourites to win the Champions League again?
Oh, I wouldn't say the favourites to win the Champions League. I expect them to get out the group, which is better than they managed last time around when they were defending this trophy. And incidentally also got drawn against Juventus back then. But I think they'll get deep into the competition. But I mean, I think it's a bit, when you see what some of the other clubs have been doing in the market this summer, looking across the Eurostar at Paris in particular, I think that Paris Saint-Germain would be more of a threat and more favourites than Chelsea to retain the trophy. I think Chelsea are going for the Premier League title, aren't they, Carl? Isn't that what they're aiming for?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the Premier League is that very strange thing where everyone wants Chelsea to be the out-and-out favourites while the rest of the top four squabble and pretends they're the underdog, whereas I think 2 or 3 of them genuinely want the title. The Champions League, I think, is just a case of can you come up with something to destroy the Death Star that is one of Paris Saint-Germain or Manchester City. However, we are talking about the group stages, and let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Who would like to talk about Juventus? Because they seem to be a law unto themselves with no one with any form of improv skills. Everyone's pointing to James. So, James, one thing I keep watching Juventus do is they don't seem to have anyone in the room go, and then what? So they bring in Ronaldo and they do a bunch of stuff, and I go, and then what are you going to do? What is the joined up thinking to Juventus right now?
Well, they brought back the manager who got them to the Champions League final twice in his 5 years there, in 2015 and 2017. And then they tried something a little bit different, which was to go with Maurizio Sarri, who was unfortunately incompatible with the club, the players, and having a superstar like Cristiano Ronaldo, who we all focus on. But if you want to play high-pressing football, if you want to play a collective game, he's kind of extraneous from that. So it didn't really mesh, I must say. But
wonder if Man City are listening to that, what you just said there.
Well, yes, I'm sure we'll get into that in the coming days, Dermot. But they've got Paulo Dybala, who's one of the most stylish football players around. Fortunately, missed a lot of last year through injury. Very much seen as the player who will take on the post-Ronaldo Juventus. Mature now, was given the captain's armband, scored and assisted at the weekend. They got some very good young players, Kulusevski, De Ligt, Federico Chiesa. I mean, then what, Carl? Federico Chiesa, Manuel Locatelli. I mean, were you not watching the Euros? You not see that goal? Yeah?
I put Locatelli right near the top of my list for potential holding midfielders for Manchester United. I craved his skills. However, the deal is done. 2-year loan, is that correct? Deferred payment?
Yeah, 2-year loan for nothing. I mean, it's the kind of deal that Juventus can do. It's how they have these negotiating skills, we don't know. But look, I mean, as we've established over the last 9 years, and Rafa can speak to this about Bayern, I'm sure we can speak about it. Dom can speak about it with Paris Saint-Germain. The league is not enough for a lot of these teams anymore. It's about Champions League. Signing Ronaldo was supposed to take Juventus over the top. It didn't work, so they've gone back to Allegri, who got them to the finals in the first place. So, I would expect them to get out of the group, but I don't really expect anyone other than Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, and Man City to be contending for the Champions League title come the end of the season.
James,
Oh.
will they be stronger or weaker without Ronaldo?
I think they'll be stronger. I do.
Yeah.
I think he's limited them. And they will have more about them from a collective point of view. I think they'll be more unpredictable. Ronaldo keeps scoring lots of goals. He had one, I would say, very good Champions League moment, which was in his first season when he scored that hat-trick for them, which allowed them to come back against Atletico Madrid. Apart from that, I would say, for the most part, disappointment. Remembered against Paul for sort of jumping in the wall and covering his face and the ball going underneath the wall and going in. So I think there'll be more to them this year. I think they'll be liberated by it. You won't often get the feeling that they're playing with 10 men. There you go.
Damning incitement of possibly the oldest 36-year-old in a transfer deal to happen this summer. This year's Champions League final will happen at the ground of Zenit St. Petersburg due to some rearranging after the last final was moved to Porto. I know James and Rafa are good friends of our good friend Sasha Gurina from Totally Football, who has talked a lot about the slow decline of Russian football. So this is the first season in a little bit where were only 2 representatives from the Russian league because they lost their coefficient ranking to Portugal. So now there are 3 Portuguese teams that were allowed, given spots for Champions League qualifying. There was only 2. Dinamo was quite badly chastened via Benfica in the qualifying round. So Zenit St. Petersburg are the only representatives in this year's round. Haven't heard much of Zenit this season or in recent seasons. Russian football seems to be in a slow downward curve since 2018 when they made some tweaks to the amount of foreign players allowed in. So, Dom, other than a long trip to Russia, is it expect the unexpected with Zenit and whatnot?
Well, they didn't do brilliantly last season, did they? I think 1 point in their group, finished bottom behind Borussia Dortmund, Lazio and Club Brugge. I don't think Chelsea will look at that as a huge threat. They've got a lot of players that will be used to playing in St. Petersburg as well. England were both around the corner at the World Cup in 2018 in Rapinha. They sort of know the city pretty well. That's why they played their 3rd place playoff as well. So I don't think that holds the sort of mystique and maybe the unknown of recent years. Zenit have done quite well in Russia. They've done well in Russian football. But as you say, it's been a sort of division on the decline. And even you could extend that to Malmö as well, to be honest, because a lot of these players will have played against Malmö back in 2019 in the Europa League last 32, where Chelsea won 2-1 away over there and 3-0 pretty comfortably at home against 10 men. I don't think they'll have much trouble getting past either of those 2 opponents, to be honest. Looking forward to seeing John Dahl Tomasson, who I just remember as a sort of vaguely misfiring striker from his days at Newcastle, now the coach of Malmö. And they did brilliantly well to get not Rangers out in qualification, but I don't think Chelsea will be having too many sleepless nights about that rather pleasant trip to Sweden.
Feels like a very 2-tier group here. Chelsea and Juventus will be likely to get out of this group, and while Zenit and Malmö scrap for the Europa League. General consensus there? Yay? Nay?
Yeah.
I'm seeing some nodding heads. Good. Great. Dom, thank you so much. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Always a delight talking to you. And I'll see you soon.
Cheers.
I'm going to swing this over to Dermot now so he can talk about Group F, where Villarreal will be playing that team behind me, Manchester. No, there you are. It's all mirrored. Manchester United in a rematch of what the Europa League final will be. Dermot, have Villarreal changed too much over the summer from the unit that bested Manchester United at Gdansk?
They haven't changed very much. They've made a couple of interesting additions. They've been one of the few clubs in Spain who has been able to spend some money. Can't say I've seen very much of them over their 2 games, but they both finished 0-0. So their attacking additions that they made are still taking a bit of time to bed in.
That's prime.
There's a decent chance that Villarreal and Manchester United might finish 0-0 in the group stages as well, considering the history of the clubs. But I think Villarreal will be happy enough with the draw. Emery got settled in, did really well during the Europa League. Last year, their La Liga form wasn't great at all, but they put a big effort into finally winning a trophy because Villarreal had never won a trophy in their history. Got to the Champions League semi-finals, got to different finals, but they never got to a final. So it was a big deal for them. So they'll be happy enough to be in the competition, to have United again. Maybe not the most interesting, but they won't be disappointed with the draw.
Villarreal's victory in the Europa League final took them out of what would have been the Europa Conference League and into pot one. There's no Spanish teams in the Europa Conference League this season, at least until January, unless one of the teams currently in the Europa League finish third and do that. Also, I don't think any Greek team can qualify for the minimum Europa League right now because Olympiacos was vaguely shuttled to the Conference League. Football, it's very strange. James, I keep watching you on a certain television show on a certain broadcaster, and you often talk, along with Raphael, about how we should always watch Atalanta. Why is that for those that are not totally au fait with Atalanta and the joy of Atalanta football?
Well, they play some outstanding kind of risk-ready football in that they will play man for man all over the pitch, which if you lose your duel, well, it leads to a one-on-one with the goalkeeper and you can get beaten very badly. But those risks do bring good rewards. I mean, they have reached the knockout stages of the Champions League in the last couple of years. They've qualified for a third straight season, which is miraculous given this is a team that has a budget that is in the bottom half of Serie A. They keep selling players, rebuilding, going again and coming back stronger. Yeah, they scored 90 goals last season, more than 100 the previous year. And I think I look at Group F and it's a trap group for Manchester United. This because we go back to the final of the Europa League, as Dermot was referencing, between Villarreal and Manchester United. Atalanta went to Anfield and won last year. They went to Ajax and won last year. So going to Old Trafford will not deter them. They won't be fazed by it. They've got a lot of Champions experience by now. And I tell you what, I watched. I watched the highlights of the Young Boys Barros playoff. Yeah, two of the most Champions League games I've seen in a long time. 6-4 on aggregate. Both games 3-2. Both times the away side's taking the lead. So that Young Boys side also has a lot of goals in it. So maybe Villarreal will be the most boring team. I don't know, Dermot, but the rest of this group looks like it's got lots and lots of goals in it.
Going from Unai Emery's style of play to Gasperini's style of play will be, as someone's already tweeted, two very different kinds of football, almost borderline the same, different sports. Rafa, I want to get your opinion on some more of these groups here. Group G looks quite fun with Lille, Sevilla, Salzburg, and Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg, I have fond memories of Wolfsburg with Graffiti and Edin Dzeko a long time ago, and Graffiti scoring that fantastic
when they
goal.
knocked out Man United.
They locked out Manchester United as well in the game that had Nick Powell in central midfield and Lou van Gaal as manager. I try not to remember that game too much, but where are Wolfsburg right now in the current German footballing hugierarchy?
Excuse me.
They're there. That's where they are, in the back of his throat.
Well, it was hugely successful for them to make it into the Champions League, to finish fourth with a team that doesn't necessarily scream Champions League quality was quite amazing. Oliver Glasner, their coach, has since moved on, though. He's gone to Borussia Mönchengladbach. No, he's gone to Eintracht Frankfurt. Adi Hütter's gone to Borussia Mönchengladbach. I'm not surprised that I'm confused because there's so many changes in the Bundesliga. Mark van Bommel has taken over, and I think it's fair to say he's had a mixed start. He won the cup, a cup game against lowly opposition, but made a mistake by bringing on a sixth substitute, and Wolfsburg were therefore kicked out of the competition. In the league, they've looked okay. Wout Weghorst is still there. It's a decent team with some really great defenders, especially Maximilien Lacroix at the back is wonderful. But, let's put it this way. I don't think any of these teams will look at each other and think, oh, that's going to be tough. They'll all be really happy to play each other. And as James already intimated, anyone who might meet these two teams who qualify in the last 16 will think, yes, these are the teams we want. With no disrespect to Seville or Lille, of course, who did really well to win the French title ahead of PSG. That's no mean feat at all. But still, it's a great group for Wolfsburg because they are certainly one of the weaker sides in this draw altogether.
We'll call this one of Europa League aspirants. Going from that one to Group D very quickly. Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Sheriff Tiraspol. My apologies for any incorrect pronunciation. The false Moldovan side to ever reach the group stages. I do have memories of them playing Tottenham Hotspur in the Europa League a couple of years ago as well. Dermot, quick question here. What's going on with Kylian Mbappe and Real Madrid right now?
Real Madrid want to make it really, really evident that they really, really want to have Kylian Mbappe, and whether they actually would like PSG to accept the bid or not, and he comes this summer, I couldn't say for sure, but they really want Mbappe to come. Florentino his word obsession has been said a lot about how Florentino's seen Mbappe, but everything they've done at the club over the last 2 or 3 years has been towards getting Mbappe into the club at some point, into a new Stadio Bernabeu. The rebuild is going on at the minute. The Bernabeu is not finished yet. It's hard to see. Maybe they will get Mbappe, but it seems much more likely that it's going to happen next year when you have a new Bernabeu that's finished, new shiny Bernabeu with the new shiny Galactico to play, and it would make a lot more sense. But over the next couple of days, who knows what's going to happen? It's Madrid, it's Florentino Perez, it's Paris Saint-Germain. Mbappe, just looking at it for a piece that's going up on the site tomorrow. Super Real Madrid fan his whole life since he was 10 years old. He's been linked with the club all the time. He's been on trial. Zidane was his idol, and Cristiano Ronaldo was his idol. You can kind of see why the idea of moving to Real Madrid is attractive to him. At this exact moment, the idea of playing with Messi and Neymar and having a good chance to win the Champions League should be more exciting, you would imagine. But who knows, as I've said.
And James, I saw Edin Dzeko scored on his Inter Milan debut over the weekend. Inter Milan, not what they were when they won the Scudetto, but possible quarterfinalists for this competition.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they really want to improve upon. They've been back in the Champions League 4 years now, and they haven't got out of the group stages, which for a side that has invested in the way that Inter have is not good enough. And I still think, they've lost two fundamental players in Hakimi and Lukaku, but they've replaced them very well. The midfield still get very good. They've got the best defense in Serie A. And I think unlike Conte and Spalletti before him, Simone Inzaghi did at least get Lazio out of the group last year, where they were absolutely battered by Bayern Munich. But he's shown he can maybe progress this team. The curious thing, again, the UEFA algorithm working so well. I mean, this is pretty much exactly the same group as last year, apart from Borussia Mönchengladbach, who've just tweeted during the draw that their invite must have got lost to post, because it is Inter, Real Madrid, and Shakhtar. Shakhtar, who were lucky to come out of that playoff with Monaco, but coached by one of my crushes, I suppose, in football at the moment, Roberto De Zerbi. Plays incredibly good football. A big loss to Serie A when he left to take that job, but he's got them into the Champions League. I'm really curious to see how they do. Of course, having a lot of the same personnel that kind of shocked Real Madrid early on in the Champions League last year.
I was going to say, Madrid's group games last year were super entertaining. Shakhtar scoring 5 goals against them in the 2 games, cutting through them all the time. Madrid at one stage seemed to be headed for the Europa League. They got maybe lucky against Mönchengladbach, or is the way Madrid tend to get lucky and squeak away through at different times. But this year, they've started off, they conceded 3 times at the weekend as well at Levante. All kinds of problems there for Ancelotti to work out. Mbappe is a bit of a sideshow, really. If he comes, it's great. But there's so many problems in the team that it looks a simple group on paper. But last year looked a simple group on paper as well. And they, at one stage, they were heading out of the competition. They turned it around. So it'll be, I wouldn't say it'll be a boring group for Madrid. Something is bound to happen at some stage along the way.
It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to this. Match day 1 begins on the 14th and 15th of September. James thinks the Champions League favourites are going to be one of Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City. Raphael, you haven't mentioned too much about Bayern Munich's chances, mostly because I've been really selfish and asked you about them. So what are Bayern Munich's chances for this competition?
I think the chances are still pretty good. I mean, this is still the team that won 2020, with the exception of Thiago. Yes, you could say David Alaba is a loss as far as his organization is concerned, but there's enough players there that pushed PSG pretty much all the way, and could have easily qualified on another day. I think the one question mark about Bayern is their depth. There is no real backup for Lewandowski with the great who Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting. There's no real backup for the likes of Kimmich and Goretzka. In midfield, there are problems in the fullback positions. There isn't a lot of depth there, and in the winger positions where Bayern have had this tremendous strength and really where the center of gravity has been in many ways over the last 10 years. You have at the moment only really one player who's doing really well, and that's Kingsley Coman and Serge Gnabry sort of just coming back into form, and Leroy Sané really struggling. Yes, Jamal Musiala can play there in a slightly more hybrid style as a sort of a mix between a number 10 and a wide player.
Mm-hmm.
But that real punch, that real pace and quality that Bayern have had over the last 10 seasons really, starting with Robin Ribéry, isn't perhaps quite there yet. So there this season. So I have some hesitation, some reservations about them, but they'll be pretty good.
It sounds as if Bayern are as close to being in a transitional state as Bayern allow themselves to get. Is that a fair, accurate representation?
Yeah, I think they're still okay on the transition thing. I mean, there's transition at the back because Boateng and Alaba both left, so you have a completely rejig back four. Alphonso Davies is only just coming back from injury. He's had a poor season by his standards last year. On the right, there's a bit of a problem. Benjamin Pavard being injured at the moment, and Niklas Süle, and of course the new signing Dayot Upamecano struggling sort of to play together, to get used to each other. So yes, transition in one way. I think the bigger transition might happen in a year or two down the line when you'll see probably the likes of Neuer, Müller, and Lewandowski move on, where for the first time there won't be any of the 2013 winners left in this team. And I think that's when a whole new team will have to emerge. But I think they still feel that they're competitive enough to win the Champions League with the existing squad. Joshua Kimmich asked for PSG as an opponent, and he might get his wish in the last 16.
Very good. Well, I think we've gone through all the group stages here. I think we've all basically assessed that a bunch of teams want to make the quarterfinals and that everyone sort of wants to avoid PSG and Manchester City, who, of course, will be playing each other in the group stages as well. Anyone want to make some massive predictions that could possibly end with egg on their face come the end of the season?
Ooh, predictions. Our chief editor's calling me. Obviously, doesn't know that I'm actually on a thing. I think Inter could be a surprise this year.
Like just in the sense of the way it's surprising last year, you mean?
No. My logic is this, Rafa. It is that Antonio Conte famously left Juventus in 2014 and said, "What can I do? There's these teams like Bayern, these teams like Paris Saint-Germain, Man City. They spend all this money, playing in the Champions League. I feel like a guy, 10 euros in his pocket, going to a restaurant where I'm expecting 100 euros a head." Me and Rafa can empathize with that, I'm sure. And what did they do? Juventus went straight to the Champions League final that year with a slightly more malleable, slightly more, carefree, jolly-come-lately kind of way after Conte's very sort of not rigid methods. But so I think they'll be freer. We saw that already at the weekend in Serie A, and I think that will do them well. So I'm not saying they're going to win the thing, get to the final, but I think they'll certainly they could be a surprise.
Dermot, where's your spider sense tingling?
Yeah, Sevilla were disparaged a little bit when we were talking about them earlier on as the Europa League team, but they really wanted to go well in the Champions League. They've had a good summer. They brought in Lamela. They haven't lost any of their top players. See what happens with Koundé before the end of the window. But they've a handy-looking group. Lopetegui's been there a couple of years now. They've got better each year. And they're a tricky side that over two legs can take on anybody, I would say. So, if they draw PSG, when they drew Dortmund last season, they got kind of traumatized by Haaland, especially at the first half. In the first game, he kind of decided it. But I fancy Sevilla to go maybe deep into the competition of the Spanish teams. Barca have all their problems. what happens there, we won't know. Laughing at Madrid a little bit, they'll get through their group, you would imagine. But Sevilla, if they're not kind of distracted by a La Liga title push, might be favourite to go deep into the competition.
Okay. Well then. Sounds resounding. Rafa, do you want to make one more before we wrap up quickly?
I'll make one that will probably leave me with egg on my face, but Barcelona to qualify for the Europa League.
Raphael, I love it. That's good.
Fantastic. I'm going to make one now and just say neither Paris Saint-Germain or Manchester City will win it. I think there's enough in Chelsea that
Chelsea retain it then. Chelsea.
Well,
Yeah, I think
50% right, Carl.
I think Chelsea. Yeah, good. I'll have that. Right then. Thank you so much, viewers, listeners, for joining us on this Champions League draw podcast, live Zoom, whatnot. I've been Carl Anka. I've been joined by James Horncastle, Dermot, Corrigan, and Raphael Honigstein. We all work for The Athletic. We will bring you some content on the Champions League draw on The Athletic very soon. I hope you can join us and read it soon. So, see you. Have a great week.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, guys.
Bye.